Welcome back to Nails Before Films, where I embarrass myself with my weird kinks. For today's horror movie review slash nail art, we will be continuing from last time's theme. No, we're not looking at another Stephen King adaptation. We'll be looking at another hot, creepy clown, which is Art the Clown from Terrifier. Now, I'll only be reviewing Terrifier and Terrifier 2 in this video. I know that Art the Clown first appeared in All Hallows Eve, but I'm not going to cover it because it's not really connected to the Terrifier movies at all. Oh, and for this video, I actually didn't watch Dead Meat's kill counts as recaps. I watched the movie like a year ago, so I can still remember most of it. Besides, the plot is not that complicated. It's mostly just a creepy clown killing people in the most brutal, gory way possible. Also, Demi only did a kill count for the first movie, so I can't watch one for Terrifier 2 even if I wanted to. Although the plot isn't really all that complicated, I'm still going to quickly summarize it. In the first movie, the main victims are Tara and Dawn, who encounter Art after a Halloween party. Later, they find their tires slashed, so Tara calls her sister Vicky to pick them up. Before Vicky arrives, the two are attacked and killed by Art. When Vicky comes, she's attacked as well. Eventually, the police show up and Art kills himself. Vicky survives, but her face is eaten by Art, leaving her disfigured. Later in the morgue, Art comes back to life and kills the coroner. Vicky goes on a show to talk about the massacre and ends up killing the host. That's basically the first movie. The sequel has a lot more going on. We now have a more interesting protagonist, Sienna. She works on an angel warrior costume for Halloween, which was designed by her late father. Her little brother, Jonathan, is obsessed with art because their dad had a bunch of sketches of the clown. Sienna's friend Allie goes to buy a pair of costume wings with her and is later killed in a very brutal way. Jonathan believes that their dad knew how to stop Art, but their mom only gets upset and Jonathan runs away. Their mom is later killed, and when Jonathan comes home, Art kidnaps him and takes the sword that Sienna's dad gave her. Meanwhile, Sienna is at a Halloween party with her friend Brooke and Brooke's boyfriend. After leaving the party early, Sienna is lured to a defunct carnival by Art, and Brooke and her boyfriend are killed. Sienna and Jonathan fight Art, but the clown kills Sienna with the sword he took. Strangely, the sword later resurrects Sienna, who then decapitates Art with it and saves her brother. Lastly, we see Vicky from the first movie, who was now institutionalized, and she gave birth to Art's head. Now, with the plot out of the way, let's talk about what I think of the movies. Just as a heads up, I'm going to be pretty slack this time because the Terrifier movies are independent films that had really low budgets. I'm willing to overlook a lot of the problems because I feel like they did their best given how much budget they had. Let's go over what I don't like about the films first. Of course, there's the writing, which really isn't the greatest, especially for the first film. The characters are really bland, and you don't really feel anything when they're killed. Of course, you'll probably feel kind of bad for them because they don't deserve to be killed in such a brutal manner, but nobody will be crying over these generic horror meatbags. Honestly, they sometimes just feel like meatbags waiting to be killed. They don't really have any interesting personalities and are just kind of boring. The characters get better in the second movie, but mostly just the main characters. Most people killed by Art are still pretty generic, and the audience probably still doesn't care that much about them. Also, I have a problem with the pacing. For the first movie, before Art starts killing people, the movie is really slow. I couldn't watch it in one go because I was so bored during the first part. The second movie has this problem too. The runtime is way too long, in my opinion. I really don't think some of the the scenes need to be that long. For example, Sienna's dream sequence, the clown cafe part, went on for way too long, in my opinion. I remember thinking, when is this freaking song going to end? We get the idea, just move on already. It's a good thing that the director said he doesn't want to do another 2 hour, 20-minute movie. I really don't think these movies should be that lengthy. Lastly, the plot can also use some improvement. The first one doesn't really have one except crazy clown killing people. I don't have a problem with that. A lot of slashers in the 80s or 90s were that way, but it does get tiresome after a while. So I'm glad that the second movie actually has a somewhat coherent story and the director didn't just do a generic slasher all over again. However, there are a lot of things that are underdeveloped or unexplained in the second movie. For me, the clown cafe part is really what the heck. I was like, what is this and why is this relevant? Also, it becomes way too supernatural for my liking. When Sienna gets revived by the sword, I was like, what the heck is happening here? Especially, they don't really explain why the sword has power, and it is just weird why Art took the sword in the first place. It's not like he actually needs it for something, so I was really confused. Yeah, but overall, the writing improved significantly in the second movie. We have characters that we can care about and a more interesting plot line. You can really see that the director, who's also the writer, put a lot more effort into developing the characters and story this time. Oh, but the acting isn't that good either. Of course, Art is great and Sienna is pretty good, but for a lot of the side characters, the acting is kind of jarring. But that's understandable since it's a low budget film, so many of the actors probably aren't all that experienced. Okay, now let's talk about what I like about the films. Of course, there is Art the Clown. He is just so adorable. The guy who plays Art is honestly so good. Art is extremely threatening, creepy, unpredictable, brutal, weird, menacing, and most importantly, fun at the same time. He looks like he's having so much fun killing those people, riding on a tiny bike or honking his clown horn. I can't resist a crazy killer clown who looks so happy. It just makes me happy too. He is honestly so cute. I also like how he's not really a typical slasher. I think it's pretty creative of him to carry all his weapons in a garbage bag. It's unassuming but unsettling at the same time. Also, he doesn't really have a signature weapon like a traditional slasher. I feel like for Art, as long as it can torture and kill people, anything goes. He likes to keep it fresh and fun, which is cool. Oh, and I was so surprised when he pulled out a gun in the first movie. I was like, what? A slasher with a gun? Oh my gosh, that is so smart. It is so simple, yet I never saw it coming. I like how Art only uses it when he absolutely has to, because let's be honest, guns are not fun in slashers. Who wants to watch someone just shooting people? We get that in the news already, so no thank you. But I like how they treat it as a last resort and only use it with the element of surprise. Next, of course, we have to talk about the gore. The Terrifier movies are very, very gory. It's basically what made the movies popular in the first place. Both movies have very famous gore scenes. The first one is Dawn being strung up by her ankles, making her upside down, and Art saws her in half from her crotch to her head. The second one is Allie being killed in her room. Art skins her, slashes her, pours bleach all over her, tears her limbs, etc. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting and definitely not for the faint of hearts. There are reports of people fainting or throwing up in theaters. I don't know if they're true, but it is definitely very disturbing and intense. I personally think it's okay. kind of gross, but I can still eat while watching it, so no biggie. The gore can get kind of torture pornish at times, so it really comes down to whether or not you're into those kind of stuff. For me, it is a bit over the top, but that's what the director, who is also the special effects artist, is going for, so good job, I guess. Besides, I always appreciate well done practical effects, so I respect the effort to make everything realistically gory, and that's pretty impressive. Overall, I like the Terrifier movies, and I'm really happy that it got mainstream attention and was a hit at the box office. That's very encouraging for low budget indie films and shows you that if you do your best and make something that you're proud of, there's a good chance people will like it too. It feels like everyone on the project gave it their best, especially the director slash writer slash editor slash special effects artist Damien Leone. Seriously, how did the guy do this? It's unreal. I can't wait to see what they do with art next. And hopefully, they will further develop the lore in the next movie and explain some of the stuff that happened in Terrifier 2. Anyway, that's my review for Terrifier. Hope you guys like the nail. I'm really proud of this one. As always, like, dislike, subscribe, share, comment, do whatever you want, and keep nailing it, people.